there wasn't ever a moment where my mom felt like she fully stepped into the role of being a parent. She didn't really have a solid enough sense of self as it was to be an adult, much less a
Mhm.
parent responsible for someone else's life. And so my childhood was largely taking care of her. It was tracking her moods, gauging which mom it was that day, because it would be completely different humans from one day to the next. And that was her reality. Like, there's no questioning it. Like, that was her reality. You can't negate it.
Welcome to Silent No Longer, where your past is a chapter and not the whole book. I'm Mesha, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a safe, judgment-free space for anyone healing from toxic or abusive relationships. Through faith and healing, I found my way forward, and now my purpose is to help others do the same. My hope is that you'll be reminded that you are not alone, your past does not define you, and healing is possible. If you are ready to take the next step, you can learn more in my book, Behind Closed Doors, schedule a free clarity call with me, or explore neurotransformation therapy coaching, now available to support you in rewiring limited beliefs and creating lasting change. Welcome back to Silent No Longer, and today joined by Ashana, a trauma support specialist and mentor for women, and she has her own podcast. Thank you, Ashana, today for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Did that come out right? For being
Thank
here
you
today.
for being here. Yeah. I'm here either way. So,
Oh my goodness. All right. Can you just tell us a little bit about your story?
yes. Yeah. I was thinking before I came on, like, do I start at the beginning? Do I start in the middle? Like, there's so many puzzle pieces here. But looking at toxic relationships and abuse recovery, I kind of have to start at the beginning because
Mhm.
that's where the pattern started. So super short version, growing up, my mom had borderline personality disorder. I never actually attuned to my mother. I actually attuned to another caregiver who she dropped me into their arms at 2 weeks old. But I never got to be with them long term either. And so I ended up house to house to house going into foster homes, some of which were abusive, and I had to report. Eventually ended up in an adoption home. And that was when my father stepped in and got custody of me and my brother. Up until that point, I had not really experienced physical abuse. It was more just psychological instability and a lot of parentification of me as a child. But when
Mhm.
I moved in with my father, that was the first experience of physical abuse, most of which was watching it happen to my little brother. And then it would happen to me and my sisters in different ways. And so I think those experiences kind of set me up to expect those things in relationships. That's awful to say, but that was
Mhm.
my normal.
Yeah.
Um, and so leaving high school, I actually moved very far away across the country by myself at 17, but I came back to be closer to my family, which, yes, I understand how that sounds like, what? Your abusive family? Why would you come back? I did. A lot of times that's how it happens. And then jumped into a long term relationship that happened literally overnight. I hung out with this person one time, and the next day they moved in with me. A few months later, I was pregnant, and I was pregnant before I realized how abusive it was. So it
Mhm.
escalated, escalated, escalated. I was a surrogate, so I had my own children, and then I also had children for other people, and the abuse continued regardless. And so there was a lot of just, like, instability in general. I was pregnant pretty much my entire early adulthood. I think I had it was 8 babies, I think it was in, like, 10 or 11 years. So, hormones changing, relationships well, changing because I left and then got back and then left and then got back. Um, and I guess that brings me to today. I mean, of course, there's still patterns that I'm sorting through and
Mhm.
working with. But I'm glad to say I'm not in any abusive relationships today, but now I work with women who have been. And so that keeps me freshly in filtering through in that process, like what it felt like, what happened. And my story stays very close to my heart. So I try to get back in touch with those younger versions of me as much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the same way. I kept well, first, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
But I would go back a lot, especially with the kids' dad. we'd break up and then either he would come back or we'd break up and I would just get tired of how everything was in our life at the time and I would go back. And then the last time I thought was going to be the final time, I found out after we split that I was pregnant and I cried for like 7, 8 months
Yeah.
and didn't know what we were going to do. We ended up getting back together for like, I don't know, it was like maybe a year, year and a half, and then we split for the final time. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, you do go back a lot.
Mhm. It's funny, the day that I was leaving my first relationship that was abusive, I was literally on my way to my mother's house to talk to her about, like, "Can I stay with you for a little bit just until I figure out what's next?" Because in that relationship, I pretty much gave up everything. I mean, I had had my own place, my own car, 2 jobs, was in school, and piece by piece by piece, each of those things were gone until I was extremely isolated. Um,
Mhm.
so I was on my way to my mom's house, like, I've found out these things that this person has done on top of the physical abuse, as if that hadn't been enough. I needed further things for a reason. But on my way to my mom's house, I got a coffee. I took a sip of it, and it made me nauseous in a way that I had not felt before, and I
Mm.
instantly knew. I was like, "I'm pregnant." I took 6 tests, and I was. So that was the first child, and then the second child, I she was planned, my second child, but there was situations later where it was kind of tossed back, like, "Well, you planned that, not me." I didn't really want the first one, much less the second one, and
Mm.
then by the time I was pregnant with the third, we had gotten back together several times, like you just said, um, but I was happy because it was a baby, but at the same time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, what does this mean for that situation?" And when I told this person about it, he actually asked me to pick up a bottle of liquor on the way home so that he could drink about it because he was so upset that I was pregnant again, and I'll never forget that, like, that's so sad to me.
Yeah, but it's hard because you never know what their response is gonna be like. Our first one we tried, um, I was in a really bad place, so when we got together, so we were, I guess, trying, and then we weren't together very long, and like you, I was going to college, I had good credit, I had my own car, like, all this stuff was going good in my life, and then I got into this relationship, and slowly, everything just started getting worse, and then I got out of school, and the whole
Mhm,
thing happened, but when I got pregnant with her, it was, like, shortly after that is when it started getting bad.
mhm.
And I just flat out told him, like, "Look, if you don't wanna be in my life, that's fine." I was like, "You don't have to be in the baby's life, but if you're gonna decide to be in the baby's life now, you need to be here forever," you know? But he stayed, and it was kind of, I mean, I wanna say it was okay, but we got pregnant again right after. I almost died when I had her, and
Oh,
then I couldn't get the birth control to, like, work with me or whatever because birth control is awful.
mhm,
And so we're just like, "Well, we'll just see what happens." I did not think I was gonna get pregnant right away because of the fact that I had so much trauma when I had her, and it was, like, 6 months after I had her, and I got pregnant again. And then I had her, and then it was the whole thing of it wasn't his kid, and that's when I think that's when things really got bad. But it's just because none of my kids look alike. I don't think they do anyway, but,
yeah, I
um
actually had someone come to me and tell me that my husband had been telling all of his friends because he was a class above me in high school, and I
Mhm.
guess he went to, their class reunion, and friends came back, and they're like, "He's telling everybody that your 3rd is not his kid and that it's so and so's kid," and I was like, "What in the world?" Like, it's crazy
Uh,
how when I'm talking to women who have similar stories, we all have similar storylines too, like, "Oh,
mhm.
same, me too, oh my gosh."
Yeah, it was funny because he would tell me that, and he'd tell me who the dad was, and I'm like, "Really? I've not talked to that person in years."
Yeah, I'm
Like,
sorry this is still a problem for you, this person that you're threatened by.
yeah, it's so funny. I mean, probably still is, honestly, but I mean, it's just crazy. And then my 3rd one was a complete shock to both of us, but it was whatever at this point.
Yep.
Um, and then my son was even more of a shock. I went to the doctors to get the IUD after we split up, because I was not having any more kids. and they told me that I was pregnant, and I bawled my eyes out. She's like, "Well, maybe this is a sign that you need to get back together." I'm like, "No, it's not." Oh, I still remember
Oh,
that day like it was
man.
yesterday. I was like, "There's" it was horrible. Moved on now, and my kids are all older and living their own lives, and now I'm rebuilding my life again because I got married after him. I was married for 9 years. That one was toxic, but in a different way. But like you, I thought it was all normal because
Yeah.
I grew up around it, and what you don't know, now I
Mhm.
know. And like you,
Hindsight.
I'm learning. Like, it's
Yep.
like, "Oh, that was toxic, okay, noted. I need to remember that, look out for these things."
Mhm. And one thing I'm
Yeah.
learning too is that when you do get into a somewhat healthier relationship after, that takes adjustment, a lot of
Mhm,
adjustment, because it's like you've been, like, fine-tuned to respond to the toxicity. And
yeah,
so when you're facing something that's not that, and it's number 1, it's unfamiliar, but number
mhm,
2, I don't know if any of your listeners have faced this, but I've even faced dynamics of, like, yes, of course, I'm, like, afraid to trust another person, but then, like, I kind of don't wanna be vulnerable with another person, and then
mhm,
the deeper thing set in for me recently of, like, oh my gosh, like, I somehow internalized this belief that if I'm my true self, my needy self, my vulnerable self, that person is gonna just up and realize they don't actually like me one day, and that, to
mm,
me, would be even harder than going through another physically abusive relationship because at least that I'm familiar with. The day I realized that, I was like, "Whoa, I hang on, like, I was not prepared for this level of inner work today."
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know, I'm just freshly out of my divorce, like, 2 years. It's coming up here in, like, a month or 2 or something, I don't know, and I've learned a lot, especially this last year. I had to learn how to communicate, I didn't know how to talk. 'Cause my husband and I never spoke to one another, and I didn't talk to nobody growing up. And
Mhm.
the kids was dad and I just screamed at one another.
Yeah.
Well, I did not know how to actually have a conversation with somebody. And then I didn't know how to and feel comfortable talking to somebody if they hurt my feelings. So,
Mm.
I just started being able to do that. I also have noticed lately that God has shown me a way of not pretending things aren't happening. Just like people being kinda toxic, on what they say and how they say it. In the past, I would just, like, blow things off, whatever, ignore it. I can't
Yeah.
do that anymore. It's like a slap in the face. And it can
Yes.
be the smallest thing, and I'm just like, "Oh my goodness, what is happening right now?" It's weird, the whole healing process and when you're starting to see things that before you ignored.
Mhm. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
noticed that too because it'll be like this it's so uncomfortable that you
Mhm.
can't just keep going anymore. It's like, "No, something is wildly out of alignment here, and I have to do something." And it like, to me, it nags at me until I make a decision or set a boundary or say something, and it's like, "Ugh, okay." Like,
Mhm.
I'll do the growth work, I guess, but it's annoying, so just know that I'm doing it begrudgingly some days.
Yeah. That's how I've been feeling lately. I'm just like, "Can I just hide in my room and just ignore people?" It's like, "No, can't do that. That's not healthy."
Yep.
It's so much easier. You have to learn all the things, or I should say unlearn all the things that you've learned.
Yeah,
It's hard.
absolutely.
Yep. So I am learning how to trust people because I still kinda struggle with people pretending, and then you find out later who they really are,
Mhm.
and that scares me because that's how my marriage was.
Yep.
So I kinda keep myself blocked off unless it's just, like, a conversation you're gonna have one time, and then I'm completely different person, but if it's, like, somebody I think might be in my life for a while, I'm kinda closed off, it's kinda funny.
It's interesting how that manifests because something that I noticed in myself is kind of the opposite with strangers and, like, clients and, like you, like, people, you know?
Mhm,
Um, I'm like I'm an open book, and I'm
mhm,
so, like, vulnerable and trusting, and I share, and, like, what you see is what you get. This is
yeah,
genuinely me. And
mhm,
then with people who are very close to me or potentially so, I'll have that trust at first, and then it's like when they start to do things that are hurtful, like it goes away, it goes away, it goes away, and then it gets to a point where I just like it turns off. And
Mhm.
this has happened since I was a teenager. So this is something that I'm still actively looking at, actively working with. But even in like my first long-term relationship at 16 or 17 years old, it just the compassion went away. My like desire to be around that person just completely turned off. And I was like, what is going on? Like I got my hormones checked to see if something it was that much of a switch.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting that people that are closer to me, I have tended to hold to higher standards and hold a little bit more distant, which looking at childhood patterns, that kind of makes sense of, what I learned of people who
Mhm.
are close to you. But it's just so fascinating to me how it manifests differently in different people and what we do with that and how we take that forward into our way of being in the world.
I'm kinda glad I'm not the only one who's like that. That's why I love
No,
doing this podcast. I'm like, "I'm not alone."
not at all.
Because sometimes you can feel like you're the only one going through things, and people who don't understand, and you try to explain it to them, they don't get it.
Yeah. You get
And
that
that makes
empty look like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, or they just come up with all this other stuff, and then it's either you get the blank stare, or they wanna fix everything, or they have the solution, or I must be thinking of it in a wrong way, and then, I don't know, I just get either shut down or get frustrated, and then just don't talk about it no more, which is not the answer. But that's what I do.
Temporary
I'm just
relief
like,
at times.
yeah. Like, you made me uncomfortable, that's it, I'm done. So, talk a little bit about what it was like, growing up with your mom. You said she had, like, multiple was it multiple dis
Borderline personality
okay,
disorder.
yeah.
That was sarcasm here, that was a treat.
Yeah.
I that listen, that can I cuss on here?
Um, I
No?
guess. No, I've
No,
never
it's
had
okay.
anybody ask.
It's okay, 'cause it was I was gonna drop a little bomb, but I'll just say that was a wild ride of its
Oh,
own.
were you gonna say shit show?
No, no, I was
Oh.
gonna drop an F-bomb first thing, I was gonna get one in there.
Oh.
Um, no, I genuinely can see where that set me up for future relationships, and I say it was like the perfect storm because I had what I had with my mom, and then when my dad stepped in, it culminated in this big thing. But I have to look at what it was like with my mom, I have to, because that was what I had to begin with. So, I'll just say that my best friend used to think it was crazy. I would talk about my mom, and she's like, I noticed that out of all the themes and patterns that you have around your mom, there's 2 that I see, and I love conversations like that. Like, if a friend
Mhm.
calls me out on something they see, I'm like, "Oh, girl, tell me. Like, tell me what
Yeah.
you see," you know?
Mhm.
And the first one was that she's like, "You're much quicker to be angry with your dad than your mom. You defend your mom, you understand your mom, you kind of, like, protect your mom still, just like you always did as a kid," and I'm like, "That tracks." But number 2, she said, You don't talk about your mom like a kid would normally talk about their mom. You talk about your mom like all you wanted was for her to just think you were cool and wanna be friends with you." And I'm like, "That's yeah, that's what it was like," because there wasn't ever a moment where my mom felt like she fully stepped into the role of being a parent because she didn't really have a solid enough sense of self as it was to be an adult, much less a
Mhm.
parent responsible for someone else's life. And so my childhood was largely taking care of her. It was tracking her moods, gauging which mom it was that day because it would be completely different humans from one day to the next. And that was her reality. Like there's no questioning it. Like that was her reality. You can't negate it. And so there would be days where like she would be my best friend and she would call me her indigo child and we would have fun and we would, dance to music and have music playing. That was a big memory for me. And then there would be days where she was on the couch, unable to do anything at all. And there was a lot of addictions at play as well, which is extremely inconsistent and disorienting for a child. Any
Mhm.
kind of addiction is like it's hard. Um, but as a result, I modeled after her from those early years, and I never had a solid sense of self. Not one that was me anyway. It
Mhm.
was one that was based solely on the other person. So I was taking care of her, taking care of my siblings, the younger ones, and then also taking care of my older brother because he had some mental health things going on that I really deeply understood him, and we spoke the same language, and all these other adults around him did not. And he would get made fun of by the other kids, and they would threaten to beat him up, and so I was constantly on guard, like, scanning for threats, scanning for
Mhm.
danger, scanning for the next thing that would get DHR called on us, getting the little ones up for school, but simultaneously really needing safety and security and for someone to see me and to encourage
Mhm.
me, and I've finally realized recently that I don't think anyone in my entire childhood ever one time asked me how I was doing, ever. No
Mhm.
one ever attuned to my experience as a person. So I didn't have one. It was solely about the other people, and so I think that really set me up for codependency in relationships. Um, and I mean, that continued on with my mom too. Like, I would bail her out of jail, or I would help she would come stay with me, and I would get her sober, and then she would go back down the path of whatever the mechanism was at the time, and then I became the bad guy. She would be mad at me. She would hate me. So, like, that trauma bond was already there. It was firmly planted that that was how you love someone. That's how you
Mhm.
interact with someone. So, it was it was really disorienting, but I didn't know that it was, if that makes sense,
No,
because
yeah.
to me, that was normal. That
Mhm.
was that was a relationship with a mom. So, when my body was being used at young ages in exchange for her to be able to have drugs and pass drug tests and things, it wasn't a big deal, right? So then
Mhm.
when I, at 16, was molested by a 30-something-year-old man, that was no big deal. I slept with an older man. It wasn't until I was almost 30 that I realized that that was RAPE. Had no
Mhm.
idea. I just thought I had gotten myself into a situation, and, I wasn't braggy about it, but my mom had also taught me through watching her and listening to her that the female body is a form of currency, and it can be
Mm.
manipulated, and it can be used to get what you need out of people. So, there was a lot of fuzzy morals there, a lot of manipulation tactics in my own communication skills. Um, I was really good at spotting lies. I was really good at remembering conversations verbatim. Um, and I was really good at talking people down when they were in a heightened state. I was really good at kind of manipulating the conversation with my tone or with my wording because I had to do that with her.
Mhm.
So it helped me in some ways too, especially in later abusive relationships, because I could help things not escalate when I needed to. However, that's not really something that you want to have on your personal resume. It's not ideal. So
Mhm.
that's my mom history for all its glory.
Yeah. My childhood, my mom was kind of the same. I found out in my teenage years that she was running from people, and I was just along for the ride, and I didn't growing up, I was little. I think it started when I was in, like, 3rd grade. I ended up in Vegas with her, and whew, that was rough. I
Mhm.
just realized the reason why I don't sleep at night. Um, because all bad things happen at night, right? When you go to sleep.
Yep.
So, I always thought it was because I was molested at night, but I've come to realize that that's not where it started. And it started when I was in 3rd grade and we lived there. She was having a party late at night, and she kept coming to me and she's like, "Hey, can I go to this party?" And I was like, "No, I have school tomorrow. I need to sleep." So I was in the living room. We had a pull-out bed, so it was just a little tiny one-bedroom apartment, and, She kept coming out. She's like, "Can I please go to this party?" I said, "No, I have school tomorrow." Well, I must have fallen asleep, and I don't sleep hard. And I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, "How did I fall asleep so hard that my
Mhm.
mom took me to somebody else's house?" I wake up on a freezing cold waterbed. I didn't even know where I was, never been to this house before in my life. I wake
Yep.
up and I was like, "Where am I?" And I
Mhm.
was like, "Why is this bed so cold?" I didn't move because I didn't know where I was. And
Yep.
this lady comes in and she's like, "Oh, you're awake. You wanna get up and have some breakfast?" And I was like, I guess." I was in my pajamas. I get up, I have some breakfast. This is normal to me, right?
Yep.
It's like, "Oh, I'm in some strange house, and this strange lady's offering me food. Sure, I'll eat it." And it was so
Yep.
funny because 'cause I'll never forget it. It was, like, just a bag of cereal. I'm guessing it was cereal, and it was square. It almost looked like dog food, so I joke it was dog food. And it was, like, powdered milk, because we were all poor and that's all that we had. And it was so disgusting, but, I ate it because I was used to it. But she had 2 kids, and there was this little girl, and she was watching Barney on the TV. She couldn't have been very old, like, maybe 3 because she wasn't in school. I'm guessing it was a school day if I was telling my mom she couldn't go out. And then
Mhm.
there was this, um, toddler. He had to have been maybe 2 because he could walk, not but he was in a full body cast. Full, like, neck down, entire body in this body cast, right? And I'm not very old. I'm 3rd grade, so what, I'd been, like, 7, maybe? But smart enough to know, why is this kid in a body cast? Like, a
Yeah.
full body cast, like, what happened? I wasn't gonna ask. So now I'm scared, right? Don't know what's happening.
I'm so
And
sorry.
we're just sitting here minding our own business, watching Barney, and this man walks in the room, and the little boy was up by the TV watching Barney and dancing in his little body cast, and he picked him up by the neck and threw him across the room on the couch. I have never been so terrified in my life. I was like, "Well, now I know why he's in a body cast," 1, and
Yep.
2, I'm like, that's the moment, and I just realized this, like, a couple weeks ago, that's the moment that I realized that I scan everything, and I scan everybody's, like, how they present themselves. I scan the room, like, everything. I
Yep.
can never figure out why I've always done that. Good reason why, But
That
yeah,
one
so
memory.
yeah, and I told my mom about it, and she's like, "Well, we don't bother with what, how other people live their lives or whatever." And we went over to their house a couple more times, and that was my life growing up, like, crazy stuff like that happening, and it's just like,
Mhm.
no wonder why I don't trust people, you know?
Yeah, and that one memory holds so many things just right there, and you
Mhm.
look at, like, that was one day.
Yeah, not
So,
even.
yeah, so I just it really does, it makes so much freaking sense. And even, like, the role reversal of your mom asking to go apart to a party, and then you having to be the responsible one, like, "No, I have school tomorrow," like, "No," and
Mhm.
then, my brain, of course, is like, "Well, I wonder if she, like, gave you Benadryl or something to get you to sleep."
I don't know, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of drugs that night and a lot of other stuff going on that night because I can still remember it like it was yesterday, and so I could not imagine how I slept so hard
Yeah.
because unless my body was just done, 'cause who knows how many days I had been up with no sleep.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, "Why am I thinking about this?" But
For some reason, and, like, we'll piece together, like, little parts of these memories, which for me, like, I have always been obsessed with memories, like,
mhm,
'cause I have memory back to one-year-old, and I've, like, brought it up and been like, "You remember that house with the carpeted stairs?" And my mom has been like, "How do you remember that? You weren't even a year old yet, like, there's no way." And I'm like, "Well, I can clearly see it in my mind, like, I see the
mhm.
date and everything." And so, like, I have a notebook where each year has a spot in the notebook, and I've written down what I remember from each year, and then I've pieced together what grade I was in, how old I was, where I was living, who was in charge of me, and I just tried to make this story of my life instead of all these jumbled memories of, like, even I'll randomly be driving down a road and I'll see something and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I was in the back seat of mom's car laying down and it was nighttime and I was terrified and I saw that statue." And it's like, where were we going at that point? Was that the place with the apartment with the dumpster behind it, and then I went in, and then there was a bunch of kids laying on a mattress in the floor while all the adults did drugs in the back? Like, I'm trying to piece together things, and so, like, I was always obsessed with that, and it's because of that, for me, that disjointed sense of self. Like, I was trying to
Mhm.
find something that made sense to make my
Yeah.
pattern make sense. Thankfully, I'm not as, like, obsessive over it anymore, and now I'm able to actually look and feel okay even while I'm remembering these things. But for a lot of my life, the memories and the dreams, nighttime was terrifying, like you said. Like, I would have night terrors my entire life, still scared of the dark to this day. Like, I still sleep with a nightlight. Um, but it was always recurring dreams too. Like, I would dream about having to go rescue my mom out of a burning barn.
Mm,
Why would a child dream about having to rescue their parent? And then, like, all through teenage years, I have journals of me dreaming about babysitting my siblings, and they would die. And I would wake up sobbing. Well into my 20s, I would wake myself up sobbing and call my sister just to make sure that she was alive, because it was such a responsibility that I carried, that, like, I had to keep these children alive. And then
mm,
going into, foster homes, and then when I went in with my dad, like, suddenly I wasn't allowed to take care of my little brother. Like, they would get angry if I would be protective over him or try to nurture him or go to him when he was crying. It's just it's sad, but it's fascinating to me to look at the heart and the brain of a child. I can't
mhm,
fathom how someone could treat children the way that you just said, because they're so magical and precious and wonderful.
mhm. I don't know, my life is pretty wild, and I didn't realize it until I was talking to somebody and I was telling them stories, and they'd be like, "What?" Like, "What? What?" Like, "That don't
Yeah.
happen." I'm like, "What do you mean that don't happen?"
Yep.
Like, "You're making this up, aren't you?" I was like, "No, why?" Like, "These sort of things just don't happen." I'm like, "Oh, I had
They
no
do.
idea."
I have news, 'cause that happened to me.
Yeah, I used to tell people when they wanted to hear my story because I hated talking, and this was just recently, probably like a year ago. Someone was like, "Tell me about your life." And it would annoy me and make me a little upset that they were even asking me because I don't wanna talk about it.
Mm,
And I told them, I was like, "Okay, you wanna know about my life so bad? This is my life." I said, "Pick a movie. This movie has everything except for murder in it. There's my childhood.
yep.
Use your imagination," sort of thing, like,
Do you
that's
remember that show Shameless that everybody was so into?
my kids have all watched it, I have not watched it.
I watched 1 episode of it, and I was like, "I cannot watch this because this is literally a satire of my life." Like, I
Yeah.
was so uncomfortable. I was like, No, I can't.
Y
It's
yeah, I
it's
think
too
I
close."
watched, like, 15 minutes of it, and I was like, and I left. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, why would I
Mm.
wanna watch that? I went through it. Not amusing to me.
Um, when I was younger, I used to watch movies that was about about my past or kind of like how I felt in my past, and I don't do that no more. I don't watch those shows anymore.
Mhm. I went
Just
through a period where I did that, but mine was like, Flowers in the Attic and, like, really, like, morbid, lots of VC Andrews. I would read books. Oh gosh, A Child Called It. That whole series, this kid was, like, so abused, and I ate it up. Like, all the
Mhm.
stories like that, I ate it up. And there was one that my librarian gave me in, like, 7th or 8th grade. I think it was called Alive, but it was about, like, a soccer team or a rugby team, and their plane went down in the Andes Mountains,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they had to survive.
Mm.
And
That's a
that
good
was, like,
movie.
my favorite. And I remember as a young adult, I was like, "What is wrong with me?" Like, these things are so morbid, but I was processing everything inside in a way that, like, at least there was an outlet for it that made sense. Because I feel like
Mhm.
deep down I knew that my life didn't make sense. Even though it was normal for me, I still felt like there was a longing of, like, I don't know, I guess I would see other kids with different lives, or I don't know, just like a knowing that there could be more, and there wasn't.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, the movies that I would watch would be like being kidnapped or tortured or somebody being murdered because I'm like, well, that didn't happen in my life. So, I mean, it could have been worse.
Yep.
So, you say that you help other women through processes like who've been through situations like this.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
like work through with somebody like an organization or do you coach them or
I'll say that it's not always as extreme as our cases, and I
Mhm.
understand that there's cases that could be way more extreme than ours, so I use that
Yeah.
relatively right now.
Mhm.
But even just, like, what people might say, like, they might come to me and be like, "I don't even have that much trauma, but I have these patterns that are playing out in my behavior, like, I keep doing this thing, or my relationships my relationships keep going like this, and I don't understand, like, what's wrong with me. I just wanna feel more normal and sane." And what we do is we actually go through a process that it came to me when I was trying to create a program. If I'm being super honest, I was trying to create a program for clean eating, detoxing the body, and just kind of like getting your body feeling better. Because I did go to school for nutrition and I was working with women through eating disorders. And so naturally, of course, that makes sense. But
Mhm.
when I started trying to create it, I guess my brain or my heart was like, "No, this isn't right." And I kept trying because that's who I am. I'm stubborn until finally I was like pulling my hair out and I'm like, "Okay, fine. Like, I'll just write what comes to me and whatever is birthing itself right now, we're just going to let it go." And it ended up being 12 full modules of essentially reparenting. And it starts with making sense of what happened and what you've carried forward with you in a way that's not um like living in the trauma or detailing the trauma or having to like recount everything that ever happened to you. I do walk these women through a timeline process, but it's as simple as whatever is coming to you right now that you're working with right now, chart that down and we're going to go from there. Like it doesn't have to be, purposely laying there and doing like past life regressions or remembering every little thing that happened to you. It's very
Mhm.
like in the moment, present. What are you working with right now? Because that's feeling heavy. There's things that, you're not showing up the best way that you want to in life. How come? Let's look at it. And so I walk them through the process of why these things make sense, why they would have been hurtful to a child, why they're still hurtful to an adult now. That's not to blame anyone.
Mhm.
But we dig into, needs and boundaries and the roles of a parent that we can now fulfill for ourselves. We go through fear, we go through debunking fear, shame, and guilt. Then we move kind of more into the embodiment after we've made sense of these concepts that we've been carrying with us. We go into, well, great, now how do I feel this through? Because people constantly say, like, sit with your emotions. You should sit with that. And how does that feel in your body? Well, some of us have turned off the feeling in our body, not on purpose,
Mhm.
but like that happens. That's a thing. And so we dive into emotional willingness in a way that's like, this isn't something to shame yourself for, but what might you be afraid of feeling? What might you not be open to? That pattern makes sense too. So along the way, like every step, it's your patterns make sense. They make sense. You're not crazy. It's totally okay. And so we start to dig into the different centers of the body that might be storing different memories, different pain, different kinds of tension. I have another friend who has contributed tapping sessions for each of these modules. And so the EFT tapping is extremely helpful for accessing things that you may not even consciously be aware of. It doesn't have to be a memory that you have clearly. And so we really work in feeling that sense of safety because without that, all this other information is useless. It's just more stuff that we carry with us that we feel guilty that we're not doing. Like, we don't need
Yeah.
more of that. And so as we're going through this process, the women typically at this point are looking back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm handling that a lot easier than I would have in the past." Or, that
Mhm.
really triggered me, but I've worked through it a lot faster than I normally do. Like, oh my gosh. And so the third phase per se of the process is the uniquely you portion, like that you that has been there all along, but she's been covered over or she's been hidden away or she's been chipped away at slowly. Like those parts are still there. You can still call those back if you want to, or you can release the parts of you that you don't want to embody anymore. Like that's the cool part. You get to choose. And so we start tapping into what authenticity feels like for you in practice in the real world. And we dig very deeply into like your core values. What is
Mhm.
actually important to you? Not what kept you safe, not what kept you accepted or seen or valued, but who you want to show up as in the world. And so it's really this journey. I actually call it Journey to Self. That's the program name, but it's just reparenting in real time. And I think the most helpful part is that I am there with you one on one every step of the way. And so you'll have your module work and then we have a call. And I also have weekly calls where you can come, everybody who's doing the program can come and just like process what's happening. Process if something big happened that week and you want a space to talk about it. That's what reparenting is. Like it's being there and being present and realizing, oh, I'm okay. Oh, okay, this is okay. Like, it's a truly, truly safe place, and my hope is that modeling that and hoping that you know that I care deeply about you, and I'm not ever gonna judge anything that you bring, like, your patterns
Mhm.
make sense. We realize that, like, oh, that's actually what we needed all along, and we can do that for ourselves, but maybe we didn't know how. Maybe we had a childhood where it was normal to be picked up by the neck and thrown onto the couch instead of, sat with and like, "Oh my gosh, are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
I feel like that was a lot, though. I feel like I talked forever.
No, no, that was really good. Um, no, I think it was really important how you broke it down, because it's important for people to understand that it's not just a one-step thing, it's a process. And even after you get done with whatever process you're going through with your coach or therapist or whatever, it's still every day you're learning something new. It's gonna be a journey. It's one
Yep.
day at a time. But
Yeah.
yeah, but that's really good. Growing up, I ended up getting taken away from my mom in 5th grade, and I had to go live with one aunt and uncle that I had never met before, and I lived with them for, I think, 6 months. And then um, after that 6 months, I went and lived with another aunt and uncle that I had never met, and I say they're the ones who changed my life because they treated me like I was a kid. They helped me get back into school because I was probably at a 2nd grade level, failing out of school, and I was in 5th grade by this time, so they helped me get caught up in school. They'd reward me if I did good things. We would go to the movies and go do fun things, and, um, we went on a cruise for my birthday before I moved, and yeah, so it was just that is the moment that I always go back to in life when I need to ground myself because it's like, when I get, frustrated and think that I'm being a bad mom, because we all go through that, I go back and I'm all like, "Okay, we're not a bad parent, we're learning," you know? "Maybe you haven't learned this yet, let's take a step back, remember this, and then go forward." Because I always said that that's the parent that I wanted to be, was how they were to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's helpful. And like I'm in school now finishing a degree in psychology and I love how these tidbits, I can't talk today, come back around in real life situations because it's one thing to read about, research showing that like all it takes is one adult that can completely turn things around for a child. That's
Mhm,
great in concept. But hearing someone's story where that happened, and then for me, like, even feeling that myself, it's different when it clicks and makes sense because for me, I had a moment where I realized that this I'll just go ahead and, like, sell myself out here. I have this thing where if I'm driving past a person's house at night and their lights are on and you can see in their house, I'm like,
mhm.
"I wonder what it's like in there." Like, and I'll look. I've always done this, always, like, since foster care, since I was little.
I'm the same way. I'm always like, "Huh, I wonder what it's really like behind those doors."
Yeah, yes, and so, like, I'm so nosy, and I know this about myself, it's fine, but I think that carries over into, when I had that one adult who was able to help me see other ways of being and
Mm,
talk to me like I was a person,
mhm,
not not just some dumb kid that needed to, like, go on and be quiet, and also not an adult who I always had this pressure on me to, like, "Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because 'cause I'm an adult. Yeah, I totally get that." So, again, I never got to be myself in the moment at the age that I was, but she
Mhm.
would talk to me like me at that age as a person, and the conversation would flow, and she would share with me stories of her childhood, or she would share with me, like, her daughter's friends and things that were going on for them, and it was like a picture into their world, just like when I'm looking into someone else's house, I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what it's like in there." I would do that through connection and through conversation with them, and my brain was able to, like, really get it. Like, "Oh, there are completely other ways of being. That means then that I can step outside of this way of being, and it'll be okay." And in the family that I say the family that I grew up in, but I didn't stay in one place for very long, but
Mhm.
families and dynamics, it was very much like a closed system. Like, if you weren't a part of that system that kept it going, you were, like, black sheep, cast out, scapegoat, it was not okay. And so I realized, like, "Oh, I can be a different way." And that might mean that they're not gonna accept me anymore, and I might not fit into that family system anymore, and I might have to go my own way, which was another scary thing that I had to step into. But it genuinely all started with that one adult who really turned everything around and changed it for me. And like you just shared, I love that when you're having a hard time as a parent, you can go back to that moment and ground yourself and be like, "No, like, that's how I want to be."
Mhm.
Yes, there's these patterns in here that came from a young age, came from what was normal, came from, like, it's a knee-jerk response to act that way because that's how we were treated, that's what we saw. But to be able to have that presence and say, like, "No, like, I wanna be like that. That is what felt good." That genuinely is what we do in the heat of the moment, in a triggered conversation, when things are kinda closing in and we're like, "Oh my gosh, this is the end of the world." It can just literally be a deep breath and thinking of one thing, which as a child for me, one adult, one person, one situation, one cruise even, like you said, that's a memory that you can anchor to and say, "No, this is what I want. This is how I wanna
Mhm.
feel." And I think that was so helpful for me coming out of abusive relationships as an adult, like my own romantic situations of, like, I had been that way for so long, and the breakup and get back together and break up and get back together, it's so toxic, and it's so there's just so many layers to it. But thinking even, like, is there a couple that you know of that you've seen, even if it's in a movie or a book, it doesn't have to be real, but, like, no, that's what I wanna be like. That's what I'm holding out for. Like, I deserve that. I want that. And I
Mhm.
think that when we've been through toxic situations, we can have this I'll speak for myself. I had this belief that I didn't deserve that or it wasn't real for me. It was only real for other people. And so I think it's special that you talk about that here on this podcast because it's such an isolating experience when you go through something abusive. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, there are other people out there. There's other experiences like this, and there's other experiences not like this. And you get to choose.
Yeah.
I hate what happened to us. I hate and I work in like DV advocacy. So I tell women every day, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. You get to choose now. You do. No one takes
Mhm.
that away from you. Like, in all situations and you're backed into a corner, you can make a choice, even if it's in your head and in your heart. Like, what do you want? Because you deserve that.
Yeah, I have the picture of my aunt and uncle. We were on the cruise, and my it's like a picture. I stuck it in the little crack of it, and then I have a picture of my grandpa next to them. And like every day, I look up there, and I'm like, I wonder if they're proud of me. I'm sure they are,
I bet they
because
are.
they were like always the ones that were, I'm so proud of you, da 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 da, and like would push me forward and tell me all the encouraging things. And
I love that.
so yeah, they're still with me, cheering
Yeah.
me on every day.
And those little things mean so much. Like I told you, I don't remember anyone ever asking me how I was doing, ever.
Mhm.
Not one time. Like,
I That's my life still today.
yeah, yeah. But you know what? That one, like, I'm so proud of you, like, you can do it,
Mhm.
you've got this. If there was one thing that I could say to parents, it's to make little comments like that. Like, yes,
Yeah.
your kids are gonna hear you yell, they're gonna see you cry, they're gonna see you say a cuss word or not
Mhm.
act the way you want to when something spills or breaks. That's fine, it happens. Let them hear you, praise them, and encourage them, and notice good things, and not just about them, but about the world
Mhm.
and about yourself. Let them hear you say positive things. They will remember that so much more than they'll remember the bad moments. They really
Yeah.
will.
With, my kids, I've always told them "I loved you" a million times a day because I didn't hear it very much. I can remember this one time when I was younger, I counted how many days my mom didn't say it to me, but would say it to her boyfriend, and I always remember that, and I was like, "I'm always gonna tell my kids how much I love them every single day. I don't care if they're mad at me, they're gonna get the biggest hug, and they're gonna hear that I love them." But one thing that I do struggle with is telling them like, "Hey, I'm so proud of you," or "You did a great job with that," because I never heard that until just recently. People have come into my life and told me that. Like,
Mhm,
I just never heard of it and didn't really believe, like, "Oh, you should be proud of yourself," because
mhm.
that's just not how I guess my brain was wired. If you did something, it was because, "Oh, you said you were gonna do something, you do it, and you just move on to the next thing."
Yeah, yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
so and my son tells me all the time, he's like, "I like it when you tell me you're proud of me. You should do more of that." And I'm like, "Okay, so I'm gathering that you guys are all words of affirmation here." I'm not like
Yeah.
that, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when my daughter told me that she had never been proud of herself before, I was like, "Oh, well, I have failed you as a mother, so let's work on that." Like, and
Yeah.
every day after tumble, after, whatever extracurricular she was in, I'd be like, "Are you proud of yourself?" And she's like, "No." Until finally one day she walked up to me and she's like, "Mom, I feel proud of myself. I know what it feels like now." And I was like, "Oh, thank
Yeah,
God."
that's awesome. I was telling my kids how smart they are. I'm like, "You are so smart. Do you realize how smart you are?" And my son will be like, "I'm not smart." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Look, you can do this, this, and this, and this, and nobody's ever taught you that before. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, that's smart. Like, you're so smart."
Yep.
And it makes them happy, but you just, I don't know. I feel like when you grow up in trauma, you just don't think about that sort of thing.
No, no, playing with my children was the most uncomfortable thing for me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not the only person who's like that. My
Yep.
kids okay, so I just love my girls are gonna be the best parents, like, they're gonna be the best moms ever. They love little kids, and it's funny because they all have their age that they like, and they play with them, and they're so sweet and loving and caring and, like, all these things, and they'll play Barbies and just genuine, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go play. I don't wanna watch TV no more." And they're telling the kids, "Let's go play." And I'm all like, "What?" Like,
That's
I didn't know
awesome.
how to play with my kids.
Yep.
I had no clue. It would exhaust me. I'm like, "You wanna do what? You wanna play pretend?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Uh-huh.
It was, like, the worst torture ever.
Yep.
And I thought I was the only person in the world that felt that way.
Oh my god, no, I would literally cry. Like, I have literally cried in the floor because it felt like so much pressure to me. I mean, I do have a lot of kids, so there's that, but they just wanted me to play with them, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "I get that you need to spend time with me, and I get that you need my attention, and I will buy you all the toys in the world, like, look, you have an amazing playroom." But when it came time for me to go play with them, it was like my body would lock up, and I would be
Mhm.
so uncomfortable.
I didn't know what to do. Like,
Mhm.
what are you supposed to do? I was like and I literally asked them one day. I said, "You guys, you have to understand, my mom didn't play with me, and I never played with toys. I didn't have toys. I had 1 doll, and I did her hair all the time. That's all I ever did." I
Yep.
was like, "I didn't have TV. I didn't have anything. I read books." It's like,
Yeah.
"I don't know how
Yep.
to play."
I'd be like, "Do you want me to read you a book?" And they'd be like, "No." "How about we do a reading lesson?"
Oh.
"No."
It's so funny. So my kids would not go to bed at night, right? And we lived in this farmhouse and it was well, we say it was haunted. And the only way I could get them to go to bed at night is if I put them all in their beds, tucked them in, and then I would sit in the hallway and read them books. Well, I didn't want to read boring books, right? So I would pick one that's kind of like age appropriate, whatever. And they still make the joke today. They're like, "Oh, my mom used to read me ghost stories in a haunted house to put us to sleep, and we would just go to sleep like it was normal." And, like, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. It was so funny. Oh my goodness, it cracks me up so hard because it's like, that's an insane thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was our normal.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
it's so
it's
funny.
good memories too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
we tried we tried the Harry Potter books, and there was a point where I was like, "Nope, nope, this isn't working." Like, it was really and I didn't wanna read, like, little kid books either because
Mm-mm.
it was boring, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was funny. We would go to the little scholastic thing and pick out books, and that's what we always got. I don't know. It's kinda funny. They
oh,
would
I
be
need to
falling
find the
asleep.
Animorphs books.
Oh, yeah, I
Animorphs.
used to read those too to them. Yep. Yep, I used to read those. Yeah, that's funny. I'm glad I'm the only one who didn't like to play with their kids because I feel like a bad mom when I say that to people. They're like, "What do you mean you don't like to play with your kids?" I don't know how to play." "What do you mean you
No,
don't know how to
literally
play?"
did not know how to play. I'm like, "You have to show me how," and it was really like, even still now, like,
Uh-huh.
I'll play a game of Uno with you. I know
Yes,
how to
cards
play
I'll do all day.
Uno.
Cards and board games I will do, for I mean, I could do that for a couple of hours, but arts and crafts, oh my gosh, please can we not? Don't I don't know, I just can't do stuff like that.
You know, they
I don't
have
know how
people
they
that are, like, play coaches, and will help you get back in touch with that, like, playful side of yourself, and I'm like, "I should do that one day," because, like, I'll go roller skating now, but I still don't do, like, the dolls or the role-playing types of games
Mhm.
like that. I don't know.
I don't think I ever had that.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
do
know.
remember one time playing with Barbie dolls. I must have been around 5, and it was in a therapist's office, and it was my brother's turn in therapy, and I made the dolls do things that were inappropriate, and I got in trouble. So I'm like,
Oh my
"Well."
goodness. Yes, that was me with Barbies, that was yep. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Okay, now I don't feel so alone in life, like
No, not at all. Like, there's so many different things that I could have brought to the show to just give, like, personal story examples, and I'm like, "I should come on one day and share more," because I feel like
Yeah,
we're
we should
very
just do a
similar.
whole segment of, like, let's just talk about how our lives are so similar. Oh my goodness, that's so funny because I was gonna say that and I was like, "No, I'm not going to, that's kinda inappropriate," but then you were going there and I was like, "Oh, I know where she's going with
Yep,
this."
yep, open book.
Yeah. I would just played outside a lot, like mud
Mhm.
pies, that sort of thing, but with actual toys. I don't know. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one who doesn't know how to play and has never played.
No,
And
not at
when I
all.
did play, it was very
Yeah,
inappropriate.
yeah, and then I had a bicycle one time that I was so proud of, and then apparently I had a candy bar, fundraiser for school, and I was so proud. I sold 40 of them, so I had $40 to, like, fund
Mhm.
a field trip or something, and apparently my mom took the money and used it for drugs and then
Mhm.
ran over my bicycle to make it look like somebody had robbed us. So I was
Oh.
out the money and I didn't have a bicycle anymore. So, like
Aw. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I don't really remember it that much, but I've heard this story so many times now at this point that I'm just like, Ashana lore, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I've had money stolen from me too for drugs. I was 12 and I got a $100 bill for my birthday, and her young boyfriend held on to it and asked him for it one day because he was holding on to it in case we went to the store because that's a lot of money for a little kid to hold on to.
Mhm.
And I asked him for it one day because I wanted to buy something. He said, "No." And I said, "Do you even still have it?" And I literally chased him all the way up this apartment complex stairs to the next person's house, screaming and yelling at him, basically calling him a piece of for stealing $100 from a child and, you know, said all the things in the book, and I was little. Knowing those words, I should have never have known all the things that I've
Right.
said, but, oh, I did, and I got yelled at so bad for talking to him like that, and I'm like, "Maybe he shouldn't have stole my money."
Yeah.
Still
Mhm.
don't feel bad. Yeah, at that moment. And then, I got a diamond ring for my birthday, and that just came up missing one day. Don't know what happened to that. I'm pretty sure that probably got sold too. Yeah, probably, and then one day I just decided not to have anything because what's the point at that point? It was either gonna get left behind or sold.
Mhm.
Yeah. I still don't have very much stuff, and I can't handle having stuff around. Are you like that? I don't.
So for me, I went through a period of time that I wanted things to be very cute and very, like, fixed up and feel good.
Mhm,
And then after my first marriage, and I don't know what it was, I actually thought about this the other day. I'm not sure what it was about that marriage that caused that part of me to go away for a while. But after that, I was very like, did not decorate, did not have anything extra that I didn't need. My boyfriend at that time after the marriage was like, "Why do you not decorate anything? It looks like you just moved in. You don't have anything."
mhm,
I, I don't know. It didn't even occur to me. Like I didn't notice. So I've recently started decorating again, but I'm finding that it feels like chaotic to me and I'm kind of like, "Ooh, this is too much stuff." Like now there's more like mess too. So I'm trying
mhm.
to find like a happy medium. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I went through my house once after my divorce, and then I went through it again. I feel like I just need to go through and throw everything away. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
cluttered.
Yep.
I feel like I'm suffocating every single day, and there's not even that much in my house, but there's
Mhm.
just so much stuff. But there's so
I get
many of
that
us living
feeling.
in the little house, but I'm just like, I don't
I'll
wanna
randomly
decorate
pick
any.
days where I go through and just like donate like everything.
Yeah, I need to do that.
I do that with my hair too though. Like I'll grow it out really long and then it'll get
Mhm.
to a certain point and then I chop it off
Hmm.
every time.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it has been wonderful talking to you today. We're definitely gonna have to do this again because I feel like my whole life has just been validated that I did not live this only life that was like this.
No, no. You're in good company, my friend.
Is there anything you want to like last words you want to say to the audience? Anything special?
Mm. Just, if people are listening and the things that we're talking about resonate and there are still like patterns lingering that you're not comfortable with or you wake up and you feel like a loser or a failure, just like know that like, okay, maybe we are weirdos and that's fine. I'll own it. But that doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean you're a loser. And you're here to do life in the way that you're here to do it, not in the
Mhm.
way that everybody else wants you to, and not in the way that keeps you small. So I really want everyone listening to feel encouraged and know that like you're so important and special. Like genuinely, I mean that about every single one of your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to advertise anything about what you got going on in life?
I have a weekly call every Tuesday evening for women who just want a safe place to land. It's a Zoom call. You don't have to turn on the camera. You don't have to turn on the mic if you don't want to. It's open, but it's by registration only. So as long as you register, you can come. We just make sure that there's no like random people coming in, make sure it's a safe place. But it's every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central. And I host that every week for anyone who wants community, wants to chat, wants feedback, or even get a taste of free coaching if it feels right.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. This is actually fun.
Yeah, I really loved it too. We'll definitely have to do this again. If today's episode spoke to your heart, be sure to follow me and follow Silent No Longer so you never miss a new episode filled with healing and hope. Please share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. You never know the impact it could have. If you're ready to take the next steps in your own healing, you can take my free quiz to see if you may be in a toxic relationship. Schedule a free clarity call with me or read my story in Behind Closed Doors. Thank you for listening to Silent No Longer. Your story isn't over and healing is possible.